we're going to play some video games today. We're going to actually play a couple games, 2 games that were really kind of formative games for me. I think a lot of people actually, both these games sold really well on Genesis and were some of the highest selling games that we're going to pack in. We're going to play both Aladdin and Lion King, which I have played a lot. They're very difficult games that I feel like a lot of people might not have gotten through. And it was in a period where, you buy one game and you play it all summer and you figure it out. So I finally have beaten both these games. It's been a long time since I've played them, so I'm a little nervous about if that's going to go well, but we'll see. And the best part is that I am joined.
Hello.
By, you want to introduce yourself?
I'm Lewis Castle. I'm
Yes.
the co-founder of Westwood Studios. I was one who created the Lion King along with 12 other of our stalwart folks over at Westwood. And so it was a pretty small team, actually. Even back then, 13 people for 2 SKUs was pretty small. But it's more like indie games now, and we were just looking at the screen. This is a beautiful screen. You can actually see every single pixel, which means it looks nothing like it did back in the 90s, because all these kind of crazy, edgy pixel things. That's why I'm always kind of baffled by the old 8-book look that people do, because those hash patterns are actually on the televisions of the day would have blurred together into very nice gradients.
Yeah.
And so I don't know, we probably need to create a piece of software that kind of simulates the way they looked back then, because I think that's why people have a misimpression of how this stuff looked. The art was spectacular, actually. The art teams at Virgin and Westwood did a really nice job.
Yeah, it's like an intentional choice by a lot of people now to do like really stylized, interesting 8-bit graphics. But at the time, you were trying to probably go for a more like the Disney animated look, right?
Yeah, and they did, actually. I mean, if you look at the televisions, I'll specifically, I can brag on the Aladdin thing because I didn't have anything to do with Aladdin, but it does bookend Lion King nicely. But yeah, this stuff looked amazing. It was with Mike Dees, I think, that did a lot of the art, and I don't want to miscredit people, so if I've gotten that wrong, sorry. But just did an amazing job. And this is done by the team that created Shiny Entertainment, David Perry's team, Earthworm Jim and a bunch of other games over the years. They did the Cool Spot games and Global Gladiators for Virgin, and they had done the Aladdin game, and so Aladdin is actually where the story of Lion King starts, because this game was very successful. Disney was extremely happy with it, and so Virgin was approached and said by Disney, and they said, we'd like to talk to you about doing a game based on our new Disney movie, and we can't tell you much about it, but it's going to be an animal movie based loosely around the sort of concepts of Hamlet. And so at that time, this is going to go back in time here, there wasn't an animal movie that Disney did that made any money whatsoever. They were all disasters. So they were fun movies, Oliver and Company and things like that, but they just weren't doing well. It had been years since they had a really good one.
Oh, no.
It was all princesses and princes, So we were looking at it, and I said, well, they were going to do it in Virgin. They had talked it through. They got the whole, I think it was probably November or so of '93. They got the deal almost put together, but at that point in time, they had a falling out with Dave Perry and his team, and so that entire team left Virgin. And so the team that built Aladdin actually did not work at all on The Lion King.
Yeah.
And they believed for a long time, until actually I talked to David later about it, that we had used their tools and their engine and everything. That's not true. Actually, what happened was, because when we took a look at the pipelines and the tools, all the people that were there had left. With Lion King, we literally started from scratch. So all we had was the Aladdin game, and we could look at the code and stuff, but really, honestly, it didn't inform us very much.
Yeah, and that's why I wanted to play this first. Is that the Genesis version is very similar to Lion King, and I always, growing up, thought it was a similar team, because you see the Virgin logo and you think it's a publisher, so like they're the people who make the games, and you don't understand how developer-publisher relations work. And I think there's a lot of interesting stories behind Aladdin, and people talk about that game a lot, specifically because of the fact there were so many different versions of the game. Like, this is the Genesis one that I played, and then I didn't even realize until college, when I went back to play it, that the Super Nintendo was a totally different game made by Capcom, and then there was a Master System game.
Right, exactly.
That was an even different team and a different game.
Same thing with Lion King, too. Lion King, we did the Super Nintendo and Genesis versions. In fact, one of the things that was asked of us is, how did you do both those versions? Did you have like did you use the Aladdin thing and get it ported over? And actually, no, not true. We actually built our own cross-platform system. So we literally built an engine to do Lion King from the ground up, specifically to do that game based on the success of Aladdin and how Aladdin was done.
Yeah.
Now, the methodologies that were used, that were invented by the guys that ended up being Shiny, we certainly did follow suit on that. So
yeah, there's a lot of stuff like the checkpoint systems and these like little
the game
mini
design
games
is
and
hugely informed at the least, but also the production process. So we, as part of the deal with Disney, we had to use Disney Animation to do all the animation. That was
it's awesome. It shows, and that's one of the things I think is called out a lot is like in the argument of Genesis versus Super Nintendo is that the Genesis version actually had animators from Disney on the game, and that it had a sword in the game.
Well,
That was the other
actually,
big
we
difference.
actually literally hired. I don't mean just they worked at it. We literally, I'll tell you more of the story as we get into Lion King. But so the start of Lion King from Aladdin was. All of it looked great. We were going to do a small team in Vegas to help offset some of the stuff. Dave and his team all leave Virgin, and we get no assistance whatsoever. So I literally had to build the team from scratch. And it was right after the meeting at Disney. So we go to Disney. I'm like really hesitant. I don't know if I want to do it. They said, oh, you'll have a lot of help from the team, and you'll have the tools, and it won't be so bad, and all this. And so they say, well, watch the first 15 minutes or 10 minutes or 5 minutes, whatever it was of the film, the whole intro to the Lion King. And if you don't feel inspired, then fine, we'll just drop the thing. Well, of course, I watched it,
Yeah, and
I was just
amazing.
blown away. I mean, almost to tears. I was like, oh my God, it was absolutely gorgeous. I'm a bit of a Disney dork when I was a kid too. I
Yeah.
loved all the Disney films. So I said, fine, we're signed up. We signed the deal, and literally about a week or two after signing the deal, we find out that Dave and his whole team have left Virgin, and now we're on our own. My wife was pregnant with twins at the time, and so she was due to deliver about midway through production. That's always fun too.
Yeah.
Actually, a little bit right in the beginning of production. So we put together our team of 13 and started building the game. I guess while we're doing the Aladdin stuff, we can talk about the process. So the way this is done, the way the art was done, is you would actually build the level and build the things. Now, the way that animators work on, especially Disney animators, they don't do like Hanna-Barbera loops, right? Walk loops and things like that. That's just really not what they do. They literally put the film together one scene at a time, just like an actor or a director would do it. So what we had to do is we'd have to do animations of the characters. We'd describe what the level was going to be, the kinds of things the characters would do, and Disney would animate it as if it was a linear short. Then the artists on the art team would have to try to. They would literally take the light box of the images and overlay them onto graph paper and graph them out, and then almost pixel by pixel, painstakingly. They would scan them, but that would give you a really rough, ugly look of it. They would literally go through pixel by pixel and hand fine-tune the character to try to capture the nuance of the curves and stuff that were in the characters. And more importantly, certainly with Aladdin, the animators were not being directed by a video game team, so the video game guys had to actually figure out how to make those things loop without popping horribly. And so it was really, really tough problem for any of those artists watching this. You can imagine how difficult it would be to take these exquisitely animated pieces where the character might turn 5 degrees and decide, okay, now actually I can't have him turn because he'll pop. I have to kind of translate that, and so a lot of work. And hats off to the team. They did a beautiful job on this game. Even today, this game just looks spectacular.
It looks amazing. For sure. And I think that a lot of the silhouettes of the characters and things like that just feel a lot more kind of similar to the ones in the movie for this game.
Well, yeah, and because it really was the animating team that did it, and interestingly, they, when you look at the silhouettes, it's called with the character Reed, and that's one of the things that they teach you in art school early on. As I have a background in fine arts as well.
There's so much stuff in this game too, like this right here, where it's just knowing to hit up on this.
Yeah, on that column.
To come up into this secret area. And Lion King is the same way, where there's just
tons of them. Yeah.
A ton of hidden stuff behind geometry that looks like you can't actually walk through it, and that's perfect for like the period of time it was in my life where I'm spending an entire summer playing this game, because the game is hard and it's something that I probably had to play, dozens and dozens of times before I was able to finish it. And every time there's like one new secret you find that's got an extra life or a continue back there and makes it just a little bit easier to get to the end. But even still, like, I think the muscle memory stuff is starting to come back.
Yeah, you're doing pretty well.
But even still, I feel like I need those lives and continues to get through. It's pretty challenging. And it's actually about to get, after this level, I think is the dungeon level, and that's where things start getting really interesting for sure.
Oh yeah. Well, like I said, the interesting thing about Lion King, or Aladdin when it comes to Lion King, is it actually bookends the development of Lion King. I talked a little bit about the beginning of it, which was a really kind of crazy start to a project. And I do want to save the Lion King comments for Lion King. That's why I'm kind of shutting up now, because really having not worked on Aladdin, the last part of it is coming back to Aladdin. after Lion King, so pretty interesting. Oh yeah, you're getting into the...
Yeah, maybe there are a lot of similarities. I mean, we talked about the animation, but even in the game design and stuff, there's...
Yeah, we definitely tried to make sure that the Lion King game was, inspired by and borrowed as much as possible from Aladdin. It's just that we didn't have the benefit of using the same tech, so we had to actually sort of start over. So, but that helped a lot. I mean, those guys did a wonderful job on this.
Yeah, and it's even things like, there's a lot of different mechanics within each level. Like, this level has this interesting thing where I'm trying to gather all of these flutes to get through, so it's got a little bit of a kind of puzzle-y exploration thing. But there's, like, the magic carpet ride level later on that's very similar to, like, the Stampede level and
Oh, I got
Lion King.
got a big story about the Stampede level.
Yeah,
So.
but it's just nice to see that, like, I feel like a lot of people might have only seen the first couple levels of these games because they're so challenging,
Right.
but there's so much variety in, like, location and game mechanics in this game that I think people should get out of this Let's Play, hopefully, be able to see a little bit of new stuff that they haven't seen before.
Yeah, hopefully. Especially if you can get all the way to the Lion King, hats off.
We'll see. We'll see about
It's really the monkey puzzle. If you can get past the monkey puzzle, you're in good shape.
I can do that. I think my hardest level in Lion King is actually the Elephant Graveyard's really tough.
Elephant
for
Graveyard is
me.
very tough on purpose.
Yeah, Cave of Wonders, I think, is the one that people really get stuck on a lot, or the escape from Cave of Wonders. But
For this one, yeah.
or, I mean, the escape from the
Elephant Graveyard?
what is it called? The cavern, like
Oh,
the
the
fiery cavern level.
Oh, yeah.
I don't remember
So
what it's called.
yeah.
But that one
The burning
has,
Pride Lands, I don't remember what we called it, but yeah, so yeah, I know exactly what you meant.
it has no checkpoints to one of these levels, so that makes it
The
tough.
the end when you battle Scar, that last move was very
Yeah,
challenging
we'll
too.
talk about that for sure. Cool.
So that was actually all very intentional. We'll get into Lion King in a minute.
Yeah,
'cause,
definitely.
Like I said, I'm probably talked about as much as I can about the Aladdin game without talking about Lion King a lot.
Yeah.
But it was really well done. These guys, like I said, happy to be following in their footsteps, standing on the shoulders of giants when it came to great platform game design.
Totally.
And the team actually at Westwood for Lion King included two people that were from Virgin Games at the time, and Seth Mendelsohn and Eric Yo. Both those guys were, really solid game designers. And Seth is a big Disney fan. I think he ended up working at Disney afterward, and I'm not sure if he's still there. But
There's a secret. Did you see that one?
There you go, yeah.
Pretty good. All right. Well, should we move to Lion King, you guys? What do you think?
Yeah.
Yeah. Because I want to give us time to make sure we can get to the end of that one.
you can always come back on this one, save your progress, right?
Yeah, I wish, right? There we go, another
Inside joke
secret.
there.
They love that. That was one that took me forever. There's that monkey way up top, and you have to fall and hold the jump button before
Right.
you hit it to get an extra bounce.
And that's it.
Secrets. All right, shall we? I just died too, so perfect timing.
Perfect timing.
Oh man, and those death animations are so awesome, but they get so frustrating later on.
It's just awesome that you have functional Genesis and SNES to go play these on.
Yeah, I played it through emulation and stuff recently, but
Oh, yeah.
actually putting the cartridge in and hitting the power button is a whole different thing.
With any luck. Yes.
There we go.
Sega.
Yeah, so I played these a couple days ago, again, for the first time since college, just to make sure I could still get through. And I didn't, as soon as I turned it on, it was just immediate joy. I was immediately brought back to being a little child, so excited about playing it again. And so I was going in here and I was going to put it on easy the first time just to make sure I could get through. And I realized, you can't play all the way through the game on easy, right?
You can.
I thought that there was, maybe it's Aladdin.
We did. You can play through the whole game on easy,
Yeah.
but you will miss some of the secret level stuff.
Oh, okay.
There's secret.
One of
bonus
them
areas and things
stops
like that.
after 6 levels or so and is play
Not-
on normal. I think it must be Aladdin.
Not
Maybe
my
I'm
recollection, but
remembering wrong.
maybe. We had a couple of things that were changed in the 11th hour. So let's start with
Let's fire it up.
right off the bat, the start screen there, it said the Animation Studios. So part of our deal with Disney was we had to use the Disney Animation Studios as our thing. So I love these guys, right?
Yeah.
So we had to use them as our animators, but we were happy to use them. Of course, it's Disney animators, which is awesome. But in addition to that, they were also the ones that were approving the Disney software. So they worked for us, but we also worked for them, which made this circular loop, which I would never recommend ever doing again. It was just a nightmare. And it wasn't because they're bad guys. They were so passionate about the animation. We were constantly kind of having to educate them about what made good gameplay. Like one of the things you're doing a lot of is moving in midair. If you jump into midair on a platformer, and you go the other direction, you turn around.
Yep.
And the animation pops horribly, and the animators just hated that. They said, well, once the lion has leaped into the air, it defies physics to turn around midair. We don't want that. So we had to have many, many debates about the fact that the game just wouldn't be playable if you didn't let us do that. The artwork, too, the character, you notice the character is much more modeled, almost like a 3D model. Again, going back to Aladdin, Aladdin 2, which we had proposed to Disney, used pre-rendered 3D models, because Westwood was very much into 3D at the time, and that project didn't take off. We'll talk about it later. Didn't get done, but shortly thereafter they did Donkey Kong Country in the same style. It was beautiful. So the lion and all the characters have a certain. They're not as. They look much more rounded and much more 3D than even the Aladdin characters, specifically to try to sort of hint toward the future of 3D models and games.
Nice.
Yeah.
And I just almost got a secret and then accidentally rolled out. We're gonna go back down there.
Go down there.
Yeah. So like already in this first level, there's so much of needing to get that bug to extend my health meter and my growl meter, my roar meter, and I feel like all of that stuff is really tricky platforming super early on, and it's something that, you know, I talked to Tim a lot. He grew up on PC games where I grew up on like 8-bit stuff, and it's a lot of challenging platformers and things. And so when new games come out like Super Meat Boy or something like that, those are like totally right up my alley, and he's just like, and I did exactly the same thing.
Yep.
But I feel like it was just games like this that were just like, they didn't treat you like you were a child, and they expected that you could kind of figure them out and feel your way around, and I don't know, I think that just kind of prepared me a little bit more for these more difficult games now.
I'll tell you, the platformers that exist now, the free-to-play and the independent guys, some of those guys are brutally hard, and I made some pretty hard platformers in my life.
There we go.
There you go.
Continue.
Circle
All
of
right,
life, yeah.
we might need that later.
That's it. Work on your roar. You know.
I know. See, and that was the other thing. When I came back to play this, I immediately was just like muscle memory playing it exactly how I did when I was 12 years old, and so I was just like not growling at people, like running straight through them, and just trying to get to the next checkpoint. I'm like, this is not at all how I would be playing this if I was playing it now. So, trying to be a little bit more.
So the artwork too is an interesting one. You know, when we started the game, we started in January of 1994, and the game did ship in July, which is pretty incredible considering we had to start from scratch. And one of the things that was really challenging was all we got were background images and the first few minutes of the film. Because they were still working on the film, Disney was tightened down really, really tight and wasn't giving us any assets. Not because anybody was, you know, being evil or anything. They just simply had so many controls on the assets. So a lot of our team had to work on stuff based on really kind of sketchy and barely anything as far as plates go. I mean, we probably got a few hundred drawings, and that was it.
All right, here's your part. Roar at monkeys.
Yeah, the monkeys.
We're here.
Yeah, the swinging monkeys.
We were talking about this a little bit before we started, and I think this
they toss you around, and
this was probably a stopping point for a lot of people, honestly.
Well, let me tell you why this was. So the monkey puzzle was meant to be about that long, right? What you just did, and what happened was at the time, Blockbuster had these rental program that had just come out, and Disney had a rule across all of its products that you couldn't get past a certain percentage of the game in a certain period of time. So the only level in the early levels where we had the ability in the 11th hour, literally, to make it longer and more complicated was the monkey puzzle inside at the end of this level. And
it totally makes sense now, but as a child, I was like, what is going on here?
Yeah, why is it so hard? The hippos and the
well, and
rhinos.
that was actually, so this is like the path it seems you're supposed to take, is these tails on the bottom. But like when I discovered you could just jump straight up to this,
just
it's
grab him by the ear.
Gosh, so much easier.
So much easier. That's a secret. You can go the other way too, if I'm not mistaken. I think.
Yeah, you can. It's just a lot harder. And same thing here. You can jump straight over to this guy.
Yep. And so anyways, that's why this level is so hard. Apologies to all the people who ever pulled out their hair on this, including myself. But the reason we had to do it was because the rental market was, people would rent a game, and if they got a certain distance in the game, the metrics from Disney said they wouldn't buy the game. I don't know if it's actually true. I think the quality of the game would have carried them all the way through, but that's because I'm a game maker, and so I would have wanted to complete it.
Well, this is tricky here too. You've removed the prompts now for this jump puzzle, so it's all like either memorization or really paying attention to what's coming.
Yep. And that's actually, again, all of that was done specifically because the game had to have we really couldn't let you pass level 2 too fast. After level 2, the game is built as an oscillation, so the first level was quite easy to get through, although you couldn't find all the secrets unless you were good. This is the puzzle, yeah.
This is the tough one.
This
So yeah,
one was,
if people
this puzzle
haven't
was
played
added.
this.
Yeah, this puzzle was added literally to make the game harder, so you wouldn't be able to get through it too quickly on rental.
Yeah, so what's happening is if you
Sorry.
roar at these pink monkeys, they change the direction that they'll throw you. And there's a very complex kind of back and forth pattern you have to actually make to get all the way through to the end of the level. But this is the end of the level if you can
That's
just
it.
solve this puzzle.
Exactly.
But yeah, it took me a few times on my last playthrough to remember.
And you gotta reverse
Gotta
the monkey.
reverse that
You gotta go
guy.
to the other monkey.
Whoops, didn't want to do that.
Nope. And you gotta be worried, because if you fall into those monkeys' hands, man, they throw you all over the place.
Yeah, exactly. And now there's a tricky jump puzzle to get back.
Exactly. And this is it. Yep.
Got it.
Oh, God, I remember that.
Yeah. Okay, now what though? I think now that I've roared at him, I'm good to try
think so.
again.
I think this is I think you did it.
And then they'll throw
was-
me
what
back
you
up
just-
there, and I have to,
Yeah.
Okay, I think we got it.
I think so. It's been a long time. And you asked me earlier when the last time I played this, probably 1995.
That's awesome.
So it's been that long.
Well, hopefully there'll be some things in here you don't remember.
Oh, no, I don't know.
Gotta get that. All right, so that's the bonus level right there we just unlocked.
Yep, gotta get the bug.
And now I think we're good.
Yeah, you really did play this a lot, because that's another one which a lot of people don't realize where to find. They see the bug, they just don't know how to get the bug to get the bonus level.
Those are so important too, like I said, because
yeah.
that bonus level, if I play it right, should get me a continue. Oh, no, wait.
Nope.
Now that we've done him,
Now you gotta
we
reverse.
do. No, I think we just do this guy. No? Oh, wait. We reverse him, and then
find
we're
out in a
good.
second.
Boom. All right, see.
Well, you're not
fool us
dying, which is
again.
good, yeah.
Now he'll
Okay,
throw me to the pink guy.
I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah, now he
See,
tosses
before
you
he would
even
have just thrown me
further.
straight
Yeah, there
down.
you go.
Yeah, there we go. We're
There
out.
you go. Done.
All right.
Down the giraffe. And I think in the beginning you had to actually jump off that one, which was terrible.
Yeah, so now it's
Bug hunt.
don't touch the black ones.
That's right. Don't eat the
I try to be
spiders.
just so safe and not even
Spiders
try
are
to get the
icky.
ones that are close to them. So if I can get 5 more, I have a continue. There we go.
There you go. Nice.
Much needed.
And you know, the guys in the test department would get all of them.
Yeah, I'm
Like
sure.
just stupid
I'm sure.
good, yeah. Elephant Graveyard.
Yeah.
So this is now, I talked
First
about
tough
that game
hyena
design.
battle.
One of the things we did in all of the Westwood games is we used to chart out the difficulty of the games, and we tried to make, we tried to bring up the difficulty level and then give people a break again and oscillate between them, so that you're not just constantly escalating the difficulty.
This is, I think, one of the hardest levels in the game. for
Right,
sure.
this was meant to be this hard, and the last level was not meant to be hard. So this was how we wanted to originally, we thought this was good enough, as it were, to put the pressure on people for rentals, and that was when Disney came back and said, no, our test audience was able to get through it. But of course they were testing with kids that had played Aladdin, and if you had played Aladdin, you could get through The Lion King pretty easily. Relatively speaking. And it's also one of the reasons you mentioned earlier that Lion King is harder than Aladdin is because there was a distinct effort to make sure that the people buying the game were going to have a more challenging time on the newer game. So the sort of presumption, or the games were built with the presumption that you'd be playing them in series.
Yeah.
And there were a couple things on this one too. You can see it looks a little bit like the Pride Lands, but now we were starting to get in some of the cooler programming where we had the parallaxing in the background and stuff like that to give you a little bit more sense of depth. And again, it doesn't do it justice when you see it all pixelated, because on a television of the day, this was all very smooth, and the palettes really matched the beautiful
I think
work
the art
done
just
at
is
Disney.
so good that it actually holds up like that. And
Yeah.
it's kind of, it's definitely not how it looked when I played it on my TV growing up, but now it's kind of rad. I kind of like seeing those pixels like that. I don't know, it gives you appreciation for the artists and what they've done.
Oh yeah, they did a beautiful job. I mean, when you think about the resolution, there's just not a lot of pixels on the screen there, you know. And this would be the size of a postage stamp on your phone, you know. It's amazing.
All right, so far so good. I swear I missed some stuff back there, but I think I think there's a lot of things that require like buzzard bouncing or something.
Buzzard bouncing, yeah, off those guys. Yeah, you have to jump into the air and bounce
that
off
is
them.
not easy.
Yep. And you have to actually do the down and the thump at the same time. It's kind of like a wall jump in Metroid, but you know what? I wouldn't even attempt it myself, so it's amazing that you're doing this well.
This is not, that was lucky right there to get through there, but
Watch it. You're losing some life meter there.
yeah. This is tricky. A lot of this is also, if you go far enough, they won't come with you. So sometimes it's like balancing just running versus.
Yep, exactly.
This is tricky jump. There we go. All right, so far so good. This is the worst.
impressed.
This always made me so angry because
Okay.
you have to kill this
I know, you
buzzard,
gotta get
and
the
if you
buzzard.
fall here, you're at the beginning of the level again.
That's right.
And it makes me nervous every time. We got it. Okay.
Yep, because if you don't do that, he'll get you on the other side, and then you're done.
Yeah. And now
And
another
then-
hard hyena battle.
Which one is the Shensi and